So I want to um, begin by offering that one of the messages that we don't receive generally, or not in my experience, is that the Buddha, meditation wasn't just about sitting or practicing, right? And it wasn't just about this moment, but in this moment is where we have an opportunity to awaken. In this moment is where we have the opportunity to really be aware of what's happening, what's true. And from there, right, we make wise choices and wise decisions. And we come back and we make wise choices, wise decisions. And in this practice, or at least my understanding of the Buddha, was that he also had an aspiration or an intention, right? So his work, and I'm going to actually, because we're querying the Dharma, and I do this often, but I'm going to try to do it more frequently because I don't know their pronoun. The Buddha or the Buddhas, in their practice of attempting to wake up, let's see, I lost track because I was talking about gender. Let me get back. So they have this practice of wanting to wake up and then wanting to teach, right? That's the teachings, the Dharma. So it wasn't just about this moment now, but from this moment now, we can discover what's possible for us. Of course, those weren't the words that they used, but that's the opportunity that we have. We're practicing, we become aware of what's happening here in our body, in our systems, which is how sometimes, we can, joy can come up while we're practicing, fear can come up, memory can come up, and we bring ourselves back here, right? We bring ourselves back here to this moment. It doesn't mean that we don't smile. It doesn't mean that we don't cry. Maybe that's what's present, but we're there. We're with it. We're with it in equanimity, just allowing it. And we create, and from this wise place and wise practice, we are able to create some aspirations for what we want next. The Buddha, again, was obviously interested in sharing what they learned and helping others wake up. I want to share with that you too, as in your Buddha self or in your developing your Buddha self, it's important for you to know to take the time to be present with what is, and remembering that what is isn't necessarily what you're focusing on. It may be some of what you're focusing on. Many of us focusing on all of the negative that's happening, many of us focusing on the suffering. There's also beauty happening. Somewhere, someone's being born. Somewhere, someone's being held. We're breathing. Here, we have breath, we have oxygen. Most of us here, I assume, have access to clean water. So all of it, so we're aware of all of it. And then aspiring from there, being able to check in with our hearts and see what's calling. And then how do we honor that? And what comes to mind yesterday was Martin Luther King's birthday. And many of us, if not all of us, know who he was. Many of us understand his work was about freeing all of us. A student of Gandhi and many other leaders, he believed that we were enough, that each of us was enough. And even as African Americans were suffering in a more explicit way than many people, he was also aware that Native Americans were suffering and Latinos were suffering and women were suffering. So he didn't leave anybody out, right? And what I'm naming here also is that he followed his heart and made a commitment. And through that is how we know who he is. Bell Hooks, who we recently lost, stayed in her practice, stayed close to her heart. She was committed. And she moved in that direction, right? As mindfully as she could, right? And I say that just remembering nobody was perfect because there's no such thing, right? Many of us lost people over the year, over the last year. Some of them who brought us wisdom in some ways, some of them who brought us wisdom in not the ways that we may have wanted it. But we also know other people who have trusted. So the other thing I ask is to consider is what would it be like if you trusted your heart? What would it be like if you actually honored your values? It's work in this society, and we started earlier today just with the image of the forest and the stream and we've been talking about how like we are this earth. This is us. Maybe spiritually there's something else going on. We're not gonna get into that right now. But this body comes from this earth, the stars. We know we're worthy because the water doesn't pull away from us and plants don't pull away from us when we want to eat. We're worthy. And what would life be like for you if you honored that? If you made the assumption that if you opened to your heart's calling, that you would be fed and taken care of. And I want to share another image with you. If I can find it, let's see. So I want to share this image of the Buddha, and one of the things that I think we talk about infrequently, but is a core part of the story, is also how the Buddha, in that moment of awakening, in that moment of sitting under the tree when all the temptations are coming, and they're being told they're not worthy and they're not enough and that they can't wake up, and there's a hand reaching down towards the earth. And the Buddha reaches down towards the earth and says, ask the earth if I am worthy, right? And that's all it took. And what would it mean for you to connect maybe more to nature, connect more to this planet, taking the time to feel the energy that is coming up to us constantly, this life that's coming in and out. As I move my hand up and down, I can feel the energy moving up and down. Perhaps you can as well. What's possible for you if you believed you were enough? I know I'm asking a lot of questions, but I want you to consider it. I strongly believe, and many of you have heard this, and I'm probably going to repeat it for the rest of my life. When we love ourselves, when we truly love ourselves, care for the ways that we've been harmed, honor our gifts, when we can be self-compassionate, when we can be self-forgiving, the likeliness of us causing harm to others reduces. Because we're no longer lashing out, we're no longer hiding, accepting who we are, accepting the ways that we have to struggle on this planet. What's possible for you if you loved yourself, if you truly loved yourself? What's possible for those around you? As we move into another year of change and another year of challenge, what's your commitment to, or what would it, let me get my question. As we move into another year and another year of challenge, how will you support yourself? Who will support you in this practice? Just considering. Taking a moment to see. Imagine, and you heard me at the end of the practice, imagine if all you were was love. And imagine if all you're supposed to do in this life is love yourself, no matter what. Imagine if your work was to be compassionate with yourself, no matter what. What might that feel like? And even noticing any resistance that's coming up just when I say that. Some of you are thinking, I could never forgive myself, or I could never forgive that. Why not? Each breath is the begin again moment. I'm not saying you have to forget. I'm not saying that you don't have to heal. I'm not saying you don't have to, maybe if there's forgiveness you need to ask for. But each breath offers you an opportunity to begin again. In Taoism, I learned this idea of letting go and moving forward. I wish I could remember the exact phrase, but there's something about, I like to use like the boulders on your back. What happened if you leave your backpack? It's January. You still have some choices. You still have some choices to slow down. If not now, when? You still have choices to let go. So I'm going to stop talking because I'd love to hear from you. You can respond to any questions that you remember. Sorry, I have so many. What's possible if you were to love and be compassionate with yourself?